Hello, and welcome to the Final Stage Podcast, the only Sasuke-related podcast where both co-hosts have experience giving panels at AnimeNext. A very specific topic, I know, but one that provides lots of experience and clearly makes us the best. My name is William, and I am joined...
I'm Arsenette.
Exactly. Joined as ever by Arsenette.
Oh, I'm so sorry for screwing that up, but yeah, that is so niche.
And, yep.
I mean, the odds of that actually happening are just, yeah.
Well, it helps that we both live close enough to AnimeNext to pull it off.
True, but that was, yeah, I never even thought of that one. Cool, but yes.
So, how are you doing this past, well, I guess technically 3 weeks?
Yeah, actually it was about 3 weeks.
Yeah, the schedule's been a bit weird the past couple of months, but things should get back to normal next month. Maybe.
Oh, that's fine. Well, between, both of us being out of town and at different times, and by the time I ended up doing that, and then you did AnimeNext, and then that was its own thing. So yeah, the fact that we even got it out at all that Monday was really, really fast.
Yeah.
So I was not entirely sure that was going to happen. I'm like, okay, but you know what? Whatever. I don't care.
All right.
And then we decided, because normally we are off July, the first
typically
day of the month.
Yeah, typically what we do is, in theory, where we upload our episodes the first Friday of every month, unless that first Friday is the first day of the month.
Mm-hmm.
But because of Sasuke, we're actually going to upload this early.
Yeah,
yes.
Because I figured there was a bunch of things that we could talk about before, because our last one was 3 hours, and oh god, I did not want it to be this 5-hour adventure.
Now
besides, I would have been finishing blog hell. Oh, no, I would need a break.
Now, to be clear, the last episode wasn't 3 hours, it was 3 hours.
Okay.
I know.
And for what most people don't know, we had a lot of tech issues on that one.
Oh, yeah.
Keeping fingers crossed at this time is not as bad.
You know what's the most interesting part with editing that podcast or anytime we have tech issues is because because we both record locally, is listening to our reactions separate but together when you line up the timelines. And you are very calm whenever we get disconnected. You're like, oh, did we get disconnected? Okay, all right, hold on. Let's see what the problem is. And meanwhile, I am yeah, exactly. I'm a lot more
animated.
Yeah, animated is a good way to put it. There's a very clear difference between how we react, especially when you get to the third one, and I'm just all right.
Bleepity bleep me.
Because it's literally the episode where it's least convenient for this to happen to me.
Yes.
As we discussed last time. But yeah.
You know what? We were originally going to start with what I was doing for the month. I think it's a whole lot easier if we just go straight into yours, because you have to start from that week.
Okay.
What happened that week?
Fair enough. All right then. So, so basically, like we talked last time, the first week of June we couldn't record because I was out, and we couldn't record before then because Arsenette was out. And so we record the week that I'm back. But the problem is that Friday I'm leaving early in the morning to Jersey, Atlantic City, more specifically, in order to go to AnimeNext. And what's even a bigger problem is that I was doing my very first panel there, and it was first thing Friday morning. And I feel a little bad saying this, but quite frankly, in that situation, the panel took priority because I had to make sure everything was done. And
you had very little time to actually, backing up, I was told the 2 previous years, I was on, like,
Oh,
when
yeah.
you put in an application, when you put in an application and then you wait until you get a call or you don't get
Yeah.
a call, that sort of thing.
Yeah, yeah.
But they usually have them done fairly early, like,
Yeah.
I would say April or something like
Yes.
that, and the event isn't until June. So I had like 2 months.
Yes.
You had like 2 weeks.
not yeah, pretty much. Like that's probably overestimating how much time I had, because I was originally on the wait list. I was pretty much a last minute addition, and admittedly, I didn't start the panel until I knew someone had accepted me.
No, that makes sense.
Yeah, and so because I was visiting my grandmother for a week during that period. I more or less I had like somewhere between 10 to 14 days based on my schedule to get this done, and it just came to and in terms of getting the podcast out, it didn't help that it was 3 hours, which that takes
technically almost. I think by the time we finally finished what it was that we were doing and the disconnects and all of the different it was like 5 hours long.
Yeah.
So the fact that you edited that out, because we were gone for a while at one point, and then it started back up again, and then they had to resync everything, and then it was just like, oh my god.
I had to restart my router at one point in order to fix the issue.
Yeah.
But yeah. And so it was just one of those things where it's like just came Thursday. I'm just like, I can't get this podcast done. There's just no way. And I messaged you and I said, I'm sorry. It just can't happen. And you were, you were very understandable. You were very nice about it. And you told me that I should go get some sleep, and enjoy the convention. The funny thing is that I didn't get a lot of sleep. And not by
No, you didn't, because you sent me a message like 10:30 and you drove from freaking New York all the way to
you see, it's worse.
Just about Southern Jersey.
It's worse than that because I couldn't fall asleep. So
you were probably running through everything in your head, making sure you had everything.
Yeah, that sounds about right. So
yes, that was me, my first confession.
I probably got about 3 hours of sleep the night before.
Wow, that's a lot.
And I had to do about a 3.5 hour drive.
Yeah. See, that's the difference, because I don't drive, so I feel bad for you because you're by yourself.
Yes.
And that's the thing that really killed me, because I wanted to go, but that was the week that I had just gotten back.
Yeah.
And so it was, I wasn't doing all that hot, and I didn't realize that I was actually starting to get sick, because I'm sick now.
Right.
And I was still going through severe jet lag. And then, Don couldn't take any time off because they had just given him just about what the equivalent of almost 2 weeks of vacation to go to Japan. And so he had to work, those weekends and whatever. It's like, oh my God, I can't go. And I can't just like get in the car and drive because I don't even have a license. So it's just like, oh my God, he's doing his first convention and I can't be there, because you were there for both and you recorded both, and I just felt terrible. And then I saw the schedule and I'm like, oh God, please. I was sitting there praying. I'm like, you can laugh at me all you want. I prayed that there were people there. Just please, even just cover the front row. And then you showed me the room that you had.
Let me take over from here. All right. So first off, it's a good thing that 5 hour energy is a thing that exists. That helped me with the car ride.
Okay.
So this is the first year in Atlantic City, and which is both a good and bad thing. It's good because it's bigger. It's bad because that means it's a longer drive for me. But
okay.
But obviously, I mean, it's more positive than negative. And one of the things is that unfortunately, AnimeNext doesn't mail badges yet, and so there was a long line to pick up your badge. Now, fortunately, if you had pre-registered and you had a panel, you could go directly to the panel ops room and get both badges right there. So I got to skip a, I don't know, 2.5 hour line.
Very nice.
And so, with that in mind, if AnimeNext doesn't mail badges next year, I might just apply to do a panel again just so I could skip the line.
Just to skip the line.
Yeah. I'm like,
That's funny.
There's some nice perks to this whole thing.
Yeah, I actually had the option of doing that when I had done it before, and they're like, "Oh, you could have just gotten it here," and I'm like, "Really? Oh well, screw it."
So that was nice. Also, because there was a legit concern that if they didn't do that, I could have missed my own panel waiting on that line. So
yeah.
it's a good thing. It's a good thing they had that planned out. Anyway, so they put me in one of the largest panel rooms in the building. You saw the photos of it when it was empty. It can hold. It didn't have that many chairs, but it could hold over 500 people in it. It's a big room, and it's funny when I tweeted, because like even before I was in the building, when I was just looking at the map, I could clearly see they put me in a big room, and the head of AnimeNext actually saw my tweet and said, "Oh, it's because we have a lot of faith in you." I'm like,
"Yeah,
oh boy, at least someone does."
Yeah, Vince is cool.
Yeah.
He's been really, really nice.
So, for those of you who don't remember, my panel is called First It Was Anime, Then It Was Not, A History of Retro Anime Video Game Alterations, which actually does fit within the character limit of your panel title. So that's...
just?
Just fit. And so it's talking about various video games from mostly from the 8 and 16-bit eras that were originally based on an anime property, but when they got brought over to the US, they turned it into something else, usually for licensing reasons, because back then there weren't a lot of anime series available officially in North America, so why would you pay for a license for a thing that won't make you any money?
Right.
So yeah, some of them are really interesting, and it's one of those things where, like, I guess I'll go through the actual experience of it.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, especially since I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, I'll get to that. So the first thing is I check out the room. I realize it's really big. And my nerves were like going up and down the entire morning before the panel.
I wasn't helping because I was live tweeting going, "Pixar didn't happen."
Yeah, I'm like, all right, you want some pics? Here's some pics. They're really big.
I'm looking, I'm like, oh dear God, please have a couple people go.
And so the funny
because I'm thinking everybody's still registering.
Yes.
What if they're all in the line?
That's what
I'm like,
I was thinking.
My God.
And so people started going into the room before I was setting up because they didn't have a staff member there early enough. So once there was like, I don't know, like 15 people in there, I'm like, well, I guess I can start setting up. No one's going to stop me, right? It was like 20 minutes before, but it was... And then like people started coming in and more people were coming in. And... by the time I started, I had about 100 people. And as I was going through the panel, at least 50 more people came in. So I had at least 150 people at one point. And which is way more than I expected or even hoped.
Yeah, you had much lower expectations.
I would have been happy with 20 people.
Yeah.
But
it was you took a photo at one point.
At the
you were still setting up.
The very beginning before I started.
Yeah, right, and I was like, because if you've gotten to the point where you were taking a photo, you hadn't even started. And I'm like, yes, there's more people.
Yeah.
So I was so happy.
Yeah, and so I was doing the panel, and it was a combination. It was okay. So I guess let's say positives first. The panel went really well overall. People were really into the subject. They were very receptive, and most importantly, they laughed at my jokes.
Yay!
Yes.
I know that was very important.
Yes.
For you.
Like there was, I'm like, yeah. Also, do you know who Mike Toole is?
Yes.
He was in the audience.
Wow.
There was,
okay, that's really big.
and there was like, because he showed up before the panel started, and there was kind of like that moment of like, oh wait, he's here too. Oh man.
And you're like, oh god.
I hope.
Oh god. Oh god.
Now I hope I don't mess up. It is funny.
sure
There was
he'd be
like
very happy to hear that.
when you eventually watch the video. When I eventually got the video out, there was a moment where I'm talking about one of the animes called Kutaro, the Ghost, and it's one of those series that have never made it to North America. So I just go, all right, how many people have actually heard of this series? And like I think like maybe 3 people raised their hand, and one of them is Mike Toole. So I just point to him and go, well, of course you've heard of it.
Yeah.
You know, like everything. So yeah, it went really well. But there was some things where like before I even watched the video back, like by the time it was over, I was like, okay, there's some things that if I ever do this again, I need to address.
Yes.
So, you know how when you did your very first panel, you were like, oh man, I got it. You like, oh, you got it just underneath the wire.
Yes.
I didn't have that problem.
Oh, you went the opposite
I
direction.
had the opposite. So when I was making the panel, beforehand, I was in this constant struggle mentally. It's like, oh, I have too much content. Oh, I have not enough content. I couldn't figure out what it was, and I did like a sort of dry run before the morning of when I was after I had gotten my badge, because I had like a full hour still, and like I was on pace to fill up the full hour. I'm like, okay, this should be fine. And then I get to the actual panel, and you can see on camera, because I have the camera I have set up, you can see both the projector screen and me.
Yes.
So you can see I'm clearly checking my my cell phone to see how much time has passed, because I have an actual timer on it. And so I covered 10 different games, and I finished the first 5 in 15 minutes.
Now I have, you remember the little pointer that I always have that also works as my toggle for like the slideshow?
Yes.
Mine has a timer in it.
Oh, okay.
And it literally does like it vibrates whenever, because I set it up. I put some time things on there, so like if I'm gonna hit the 30-minute warning or the 15-minute warning or whatever, it buzzes me, so it says I have it in my hand, so I won't be constantly looking down.
Yeah.
And so it's sort of like, ooh, oh crap! Like that. Have the first time around, like it hit, and I'm like, oh dear God, I only have 30 minutes left. Like I haven't even touched this yet.
Yeah. So once I saw that only 15 minutes have passed, my immediate thought was, okay, time to slow down.
Yes. Yes.
And so
yeah.
I spent the second half in about I finished the content after a total of 50 minutes, and then I did about 5 minutes of questions, and then I decided to end it there. So I made it work. But
so what was the duration again? I'm sorry.
It was an hour. Okay. But I finished everything in 15 minutes, and then I did 5 minutes of questions, and then there was no more questions, so I called it.
Okay.
More or less.
So it was what, half hour?
So what?
Just under half hour.
Just under the hour, yeah. Total.
Okay.
But
okay. I misunderstood. Go ahead.
Yeah. So it was so even then at that point I'm like, okay, yeah, that's something that I gotta change. So in terms of recording videos, I did get a video recorded. It's gonna get out eventually, but so I didn't think about this, but using a predominantly white background for your slides doesn't show up great on camera.
Yeah.
So most of the slides are very washed out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to superimpose screen caps on them of the slides. So I got to do that eventually, but it's Yeah, it overall went very well, and I think part of the reason why it went well is because I had a really good crowd.
Yes.
And you knew I had a really good crowd from the very beginning because I started the panel by saying that this was actually my very first panel ever. And part of the reason I said that was because I was going to do a joke. But before I even had it, but even before I had a chance to deliver the joke, the crowd started cheering and applauding for that. Yeah. It's like, hey, good on you. It's like, wow, this is actually a really good crowd. So friendly.
Yeah, that's really awesome.
So yeah, so
I've had really good. Yeah, I've had a good thing with AnimeNext. You were there for both, and the second one, it was a little rougher, but there was nothing wrong with the crowd. It was just the timing was bad.
yeah,
So it is good. I think probably there's a lot more leeway because it was that first day.
yeah.
So you were the first thing. So you
Yeah.
were the start of the convention for them. So
Yeah.
their full attention was there.
Yeah, I mean, there was only 2 other panels that started before me, and the dealer's room wasn't even open yet. The games room wasn't
Right.
even open yet. So there
You
wasn't
had a captive audience.
there wasn't a lot to do, quite frankly, and so it just worked out really well. I handed out a few cards to people. People seemed very receptive, and I got a few compliments. And
That's awesome.
by the
I'm so happy for you.
and after it was all said and done, I had this feeling like, holy crap. That
So
was
is this
really
something you
cool.
would like to do again?
Yeah. Yeah, I'd say so.
Awesome.
Yeah. I really enjoyed it, and it was totally worth it. So,
Yay.
I won't be doing that panel any more times this year, but maybe AnimeNext will be willing to have me again next year, and I'll have more than 10 days of preparation.
Well, that's also the benefit. Like I mentioned, I had asked for that extra half hour, and it worked out.
Yeah.
I don't think I'll ever do another panel again,
Hmm.
unless somebody like specifically requests it. But I won't go out of my way to do that again. I don't know how people do that. I do like that there are people that do different panels, so I can understand where they can keep rotating the content so it's not the same thing over and over in their minds.
Yeah.
So, I mean, because both of my panels are still on YouTube, so if anybody's always interested in that information, it's there.
Yeah.
And unless I wanted to do something with the Rising era, but the bigger issue that's going on now, at least for the content, I'd have to start from the beginning and then go even now. That's a 2-hour thing. Because there's so many new people that don't even have a Sasuke background. They don't have the G4 version.
Right.
So I have a bigger problem, and it keeps getting compounded every year.
Yeah.
Yours, at least, I can't wait to actually see that panel because
Yeah.
I'm interested in that sort of thing.
Yeah, I gotta.
But
work on
yeah,
that.
I am just still so freaking happy. And then as soon as you got back, you immediately started working on getting the video up.
Yeah.
And then, and then I can tell that you were exhausted because it went live
Yeah.
instead of
Hey.
going on draft.
Guess who?
That's what happened, right?
Well, basically, it was a scheduled upload, but I forgot what
Okay.
time I had put the schedule on, and I didn't finish the show notes before that time.
Yeah.
So it's like,
in fact, that was what
yeah.
the first message was like. Where are the show notes? At least that tells
Yeah.
you that people actually do use that.
That's good.
So
Yeah.
I appreciate it. So
That's actually a good test to see if anyone uses anything. Take it away and see if anyone notices.
yeah. Oh no, I get
Yeah.
I get told that all the time, especially because of the length.
Yeah.
And then there are times where someone had actually told me that they used the podcast as a way to disprove somebody, like an argument. See, I told you, if you go at 40 something of this podcast, they would tell you that that's incorrect. I'm like, oh god, I don't want to
boy.
be used to this fight.
Yeah. What's funny is that I was looking at Twitter on my phone, and I'm like, wait, when did I tweet this out? Wait, what? Hold on. No,
I just was like, oh wow, it's up, and you're like, that wasn't supposed to go out.
Actually, no, it was even better. The first thing I saw was your reply to the tweet. So it's like, oh, let me know when so and so is ready. I'm like, wait, what's she talking about? Oh, oh no, this wasn't.
And you were at work, right?
I was, yeah.
Yeah.
This was,
in which case, there's nothing you can do about it because you have to wait until you're back home at your computer to do that.
I gotta do work.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh my god. So
yeah,
that
was my month. It was quite eventful and really good. And actually, just to kind of wrap up the AnimeNext stuff, AnimeNext was really good. And I just want to say thank you to AnimeNext for accepting my panel and for putting me in a big room.
Yes.
It was a lot of fun. I greatly appreciate it. And maybe we can do something again next year. I have ideas for panels. I don't know if any of them are good ideas for panels. Maybe I'll just do the same one again. Who knows?
Cool. And you like the new location?
Yeah, it's overall it's better than the old one. Especially because it's one building instead of
that's cool.
Instead of four.
Yeah.
4.
Yeah.
So yeah. So how are you doing?
Recovering. I did manage to get I think like one update video. I did put the Shingo thing, although I think I put the Shingo thing up like right before or right the same week of the previous one, because only 3 weeks have elapsed. And so I've been doing like a couple of vlogs to catch up with like the things that have been in between. And I'm probably going to do more of those because people seem to like it, at least. And I'll be finished. I finished off at least the stuff from last year, so I'm happy with that. And then I'm going to start working on some of the stuff from this year. Though I think I'll probably end up just doing one more vlog, and then I'll be in the middle of vlog hell. And then I'll probably start putting videos after that, because I'm terrified that I'm going to put videos that I'll start accidentally doing spoiler stuff without me accidentally like realizing that. So I'm going to make sure that it's after the broadcast.
Well, that makes sense.
So I only have less than a week anyway, so I'm excited. I'm nervous and excited. This technically will be my last one, so we'll see what happens, because there's been some conjectures to whether or not I'm going to be doing like 33, and will I do 33 this way? But I don't know. I haven't thought that far as of now. In terms of like big vlogs, blogs, not vlogs. This will be my last one, so we'll see.
So anyway,
at least there's a day between the two. So
yeah,
go ahead.
So I have a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
So when is Sasuke 32 airing in my time zone?
Can I smack you now? Alright, look. For anybody that has no idea what that joke is, I would put all of the information up exactly as is with JST, which is Japan Standard Time. They don't change times, we do. And the first question is, when is it in my time zone? And that went on for years. I would say the first 4 or 5 years, which would have been 2008 to 2012. And then finally people started using more, because again, the internet was not quite the same thing back then that it is now, where everybody now has, the time and date website, and you now can actually put it on your phone and all this extra stuff. So now I put the link to, look, here it is on the master list, and then you can figure out on your own. So the first things first, and people keep asking me about Navi. Navi is for lack of a better phrase, a preview show. That is where they have the majority of their fluff pieces. And lately they've been putting runs that will not be on the broadcast. In fact, the internal joke is when you see somebody running, yeah, they're going to be cut from the broadcast.
It's like, hey, look at this scrub.
Yeah, exactly. So, I would assume that this year is going to be Nagano heavy because this is his last tournament. And so I would assume, I don't know. It is 50 minutes. It is, let's see, January 2nd at 1500 JST. So that's 3 o'clock local time. And yes, William, it is at 2 o'clock in the morning for us in the East.
All right.
So for those in the West, that's like Friday night at 11 o'clock. So for us in the East, it's Saturday morning at 2 o'clock, but just basically Friday night for us. So that'll be the first one. And then there's going to be a second one, which is half hour. There's been a couple ways that they've been doing this. They've had, I think they had one last year, and it was literally just the fluff pieces and not the runs. And then they added, I think, like a minute or two of something new, but it was barely noticeable for anybody. Like most people just would basically skip it. But that runs, and having worked in television, I can understand what 26:53 is. Even though there are 24 hours in a day, that's 2:53 in the morning. Because you start from the 24 and then you keep going because it's technically the same day. Most broadcast days finish at 4 o'clock in the morning. Like they turn over. So whatever is before 4 o'clock in the morning is considered the previous day. And then starting from like 5 o'clock. In fact, some stations are off the air from like 4 to 5 o'clock in the morning, at least here in the United States. So when I saw the 26, I'm like, oh yeah. And they're like, what the hell is 26:53? So either way, that is 1:53 p.m. for us in the East Coast. So that's going to be a weird day because we'll be up at 2 o'clock in the morning and then up at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And then Sasuke's the following day at 5:30 in the morning because it's Sunday, July 3rd at 18:30, which is 6:30 in the evening. And fair warning for those that have watched Sasuke when it starts that early, that 6:30 to 7 o'clock is gonna suck. Because 6:30 to 7 o'clock, they shove all the commercials. I think maybe you'll get like 10 minutes worth of broadcast, and then the rest of it's gonna be commercials. And then magically at 7 o'clock, it starts getting better. So it's just how they have it. And it's shorter this year. It's only going up to 21:48. So I think it's 3 hours and 12 minutes? 18, 19, 20, 21. Yeah. Yeah.
So you want to know the epitome of feeling long and commercials?
Mm-hmm.
So, do you remember Sasuke 24?
The New Year's one for 5 hours.
I thought it was 6.
It was 5.5. Now, they had something that aired earlier than that, so it was technically, I was sitting in that chair for 8 hours.
Yeah. So I was at a New Year's Eve party, and I think I got maybe an hour sleep, maybe.
Nah, I don't go anywhere on amateur night.
By the time they got to the third stage, I was begging everyone to just fail so we can finish this quicker. And yet, that's the one where pretty much everyone cleared.
Yes.
So it was very...
You had, 27 clears on that one?
Well, no, I'm talking about just stage 3.
Oh, okay.
So
there were 8. No,
there was
6.
There was 5...
8 people and 3 failed?
Yeah, I thought it was 3 failed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was 8 people and 3 failed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but it was like...
and they're like, oh god, so there's going to be how much longer for the final because there's going to be 5 people there? Shoot me!
Yeah. I was just like, for peaks... And the thing is, I was going to relatives' house for New Year's Day, so it's not like I could sleep in. So that was an experience.
Hey, I was fine because, again, I don't go out on amateur night.
Well, you're
just...
special.
I don't.
So,
Oh, and one more thing in terms of timing. For those that remember, this is the third year in a row that they'll be doing the Nico Nico Live.
Right.
And for those who are not familiar, it basically you have the director, the producer, and a few of the Sasuke stars. They're basically doing running commentary.
Right.
Half the time they're staring at the TV saying nothing because this is the first time they've seen it, which is really funny. And then you get the yay round of applause. You do not see the tournament through there. For obvious reasons, because they want you to see it on TV. This is meant for a Japanese audience, so the whole thing will be in Japanese and is not subtitled for anything. But for those that are interested in that, we're, especially fans of, people like Real Matachi, that sort of thing, that's where they get to see what they look like. And then it's cute, even if you can't understand it, where you would see the interaction between the people, especially if someone choked badly, like what happened last year with Rio, and you see everybody just looking at him because they knew that he failed last year, and his run's coming up, and all of a sudden he's like, his head's starting to go down, like, yeah, and then the smirk comes, like, oh, here it comes, I'm about to fail, yep, and I failed. And then you had everybody messing with him, and then so goes to the next stage, and same thing. And so people that are interested in that starts half hour before, so that will be at 5 o'clock in the morning our time, 6 o'clock. But that's running on Nico Nico. I will have the links on my blog. The streaming itself, Sasuke Maniac Forums will take care of the stream, so please do not ask me any questions on technical things. I can't see it, what's the link, and whatever. I will retweet anything that they broadcast on their Twitter. I have retweeted just about everything that they've done. You can follow them on Twitter. For those who are members of SMF, you can get that information there. They'll have everything up on Ustream. And I am not taking care of the technical stuff, so please don't send me messages or private messages trying to freak out going, why I can't see this? Like, I can't help you.
By the way,
so
I have a question that is related to Sasuke or the Navi that I just thought of. Since this is Nagano's last tournament, and there's probably going to be a lot of Nagano-centric information, do you think they'll finally show Nagano's first run on Sasuke?
I don't think so, but they have actually shown it before.
They have?
In small clips.
Okay, have they ever shown it in its entirety?
No.
See, that'd be nice.
They've showed what it looked like when he was on the start line.
Right.
And then, because it looks even, I think the clip that they had was almost like a fast forward. And they got him right before he was going to get on the warp wall. And then how he failed on the warp wall, which was actually a little hilarious because when, like, he didn't even wait until the timer had run out. He basically hunched over, started laughing hysterically, and then jumped off. Because he couldn't believe that he couldn't come up the wall. So it was hilarious. He said, it gets to the wall, it runs up. Oh, this is a lot higher than I thought it was. And then tries it again, and then does the body slide, as I call it.
Yeah, that.
The epic body slide.
That slide, yeah.
And they did that a couple times, and then it does the cut like time had passed. Like,
right.
I think he wasted like 30 seconds on that thing. And then the klaxon started blaring. He starts going into hysterical laughter, tries one more time, realizes that it's a total disaster, turns around and jumps off before the klaxon turns off. So I'm like, yeah, that's not gonna worry. And I could just imagine him going, oh, everybody's gonna ride me when I get back home, going, what? And then that was the one that was cut. So he traveled 28 hours. Was it 28 hours in the overnight ferry from Miyazaki with his entire family. At that point was his previous wife and his 3 kids. I think part of his family, like extended family, and his boss and friends all went over, and he got cut in the first round. So that was the story. So you've never seen that?
No, I've never seen that.
I gotta go find it. There have been, I know they showed it during the Rising era.
Okay. Well, I mean,
Like,
I might not have realized it that I saw it.
yeah,
Maybe
yeah,
I might have like thought that was the Sasuke 8 run because he also failed the warp wall there.
yeah. 8 was, remember, that was the tournament that was like swampy and rainy. That was
Yeah.
the one with Ken Kasugi.
Yeah.
So that was the one where you had this big smile, and he does the. He had a. Did he have a shirt for the first one?
I think so.
No, no, no. You're thinking of 9.
Well,
9
not
is the one that he had the shirt.
well. Nine's the one he
The white
clears.
shirt. Yes, and he had
Yeah.
the white shirt on.
But they okay. Well, he also. I mean, they showed his run for 8.
Yes.
I know because I remember watching the G4 version, and
Yeah.
the funny thing about the fact that they, the order of which they edited the tournaments and stuff, when the announcer after Nagano fails the warped wall, the announcer's like, "Oh, it's a shame that that Nagano failed the warped wall. His upper body strength could have helped him in the later stages." I'm like, "Yeah, no kidding." It's as if you guys know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
It's so weird because they have to write the dialogue as if they don't know what's going to happen, but they clearly know what's going to happen.
Yeah. Although it's interesting when you. Part of the things that I'm going to be doing once I go into what they call the semi-retirement, I'm going to be concentrating more on like a lot of the little backstories and stuff. And each of the Sasuke and All-Stars had those moments where nobody knew how they were going to do, and then all of a sudden they were like thrust into the spotlight because Ken Kasugi had gone.
Right.
And each of them had their own thing. Like, for example, Nagano's first tournament was completely cut from television. You had Bunpei did his first tournament. It was aired, and then they didn't invite him back. He's like, wait, what? Okay. And then people sent fan mail over going, what about that guy with the short shorts that 1 foot at the jump hang? Why isn't he coming back? So then they had to invite him back again, and then he became an all-star. Stupid little things like that I always found amusing because nobody knew how they were going to do. And so it was just, and I think the only ones that were set that they knew they were going to be all-stars were the ones that came up with the idea in the first place, would have been Shingo and Yamada. And so, obviously, we by that point, Akiyama was definitely one because he was the current champion. And then all the other ones were like, well, who's popular now? So back then, the way they gauged how well someone was received is how many letters they got at TBS. Because back then, internet was not the same thing, especially in the early 2000s. So they would actually have physical fan mail, and the ones that had the most fan mail were Takeda and Shiratori.
Right.
Those were the other two. And then Nagano all of a sudden out of nowhere in 9, which ironically was the tournament that started the All-Star era, where all of a sudden he ended up in the 3rd stage, and sort of like, okay, yeah, he's an all-star now. Right, we'll grab him, we'll grab the other 2, the other 3 already said, all right, these 6, here we go. I think Bunpei wasn't even added until like 12.
I don't know.
So,
some
but,
of the timeline's a little murky for me with that sort of stuff. But
yeah.
Anyway, let's change gears a little bit. Let's talk about some Super Mario Maker.
Okay,
so Super Mario Maker is a really good game that fully utilizes the Wii U gamepad to its maximum potential, giving players a lot of free range in terms of the types of Mario levels that you can make, including giving access to items and mechanics that weren't even available in the original Mario games that they are based on. So there's a lot of freedom and creativity that you get, and you can make a whole bunch of different things, including a recreation of the Sasuke obstacle course.
Yes. And I am not sure how much money was given to Nintendo to do this, but there was a show called Wednesday Downtown.
Yeah.
And it's a show that goes on, of course, every Wednesday.
What?
It is a full 2-hour show, and it's basically gag comedy. So they had an entire section, and then it was, I think on TV it was about a half an hour, but edited down was like 18 minutes. They had Akiyama and Yamada.
As well as 6 comedians.
Yes, but at least for Sasuke people, those were the only ones. And now
Yes.
I did recognize Hard Gay.
Yes.
They now call him HG, and I'm like, okay, so they did change his name because that's not PC anymore.
Razor Ramon.
I can't believe he's 40 now.
He looks good.
Yeah, he looks great, but I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, I'm now officially old because I know like it was funny because as soon as they didn't even have to say his name or anything, I
No,
was
he's
looking at his
instantly
face, and
recognizable.
I'm like, that's Hard Gay.
Have
And
you
then I'm like, HG. Oh my god.
have you ever seen Hard Gay's run on Celebrity Viking?
No.
You should look it up because he took 2nd place. He actually did really well.
Okay, I have to.
Yeah.
I think that's the one that we're missing. I know that we're.
I'll have to. There's
trying to get him on. Yeah.
there's stuff at I think it's on YouTube. Because I think a Hard Gay fan put them all up on YouTube, so they should still be there. But yeah, he was.
Yeah, I gotta go find out.
He was really good at Celebrity Viking. He just missed winning the whole thing, which is a shame.
And everybody already knows how much I fangirl over Viking because I loved that show.
Viking
As limited as there were only 6 tournaments.
And also, not all of them were the same thing.
No, which is the reason why I liked it.
Yeah.
It just each one was unique to each other.
Also, you have that Korean spin-off, Super Viking, which is its own separate weird thing.
Yeah, but
Which
we can actually just talk about that for hours.
That's a different subject.
But
yes.
anyway, the way they had it was you'd have these 8 people, the
Right.
6 celebrities and the 2 all-stars, and they ran the first stage. Now the first stage,
but there was some extra rules. You see, competitors had a choice. They could either take on the real Sasuke obstacle and try to clear it, or they could take on the Super Mario Maker version of it. And at each obstacle, there is a Wii U stationed with that section of the course.
yeah. Now, more importantly, you can only choose 4 times. Like for example,
4 of
there were
each.
8. Yeah, it's technically 9 obstacles, but they took the first 2
And they combined it.
as one thing, and it made sense because you're not going to literally balk out of the middle of the quad steps to go check on a video game. So they had the quad steps and the rolling hill as one set,
Yeah.
and then the video game version. So because there were 8, you can only choose video game 4 times and an obstacle 4 times. So if you went the duration of it, you had to switch. Like if you did just the video games for the first 4, you had to do the next 4 real life.
Right.
So they went back and forth between them, and it was.
And there was a timer.
Yeah, it was what, almost 2 minutes.
Something like that, yeah.
Actually, no, I think it was 3 minutes total, because that also, and that, as a behind the scenes thing, it was raining like crazy.
Yeah, it was muddy.
Just the day, yeah, it was in fact,
You could see it.
we had like the competitor, because I was with 3 of the competitors. My friend Raina, Perry, and Jean were all competing, and they all got messages going, "Bring galoshes." There's standing water, puddle, and mud, and do not wear the shoes that you are wearing for the course at all during Sasuke. So we will allow for extra time for you to change out from your galoshes or otherwise, crap shoes to your running shoes at the start line. So you're allowed to bring like a bag or anything like that, but please bring multiple clothing because it's a swamp. And that was what was told to us the day before. And then seeing this video, oh yeah, you saw standing water and everything.
Yeah.
Now, I thought it was cute. I I was laughing at the because you had, of course, the box people. It's a thing that's very much now. Is that just Southeast Asia in general?
It's turning into an everything thing because I've seen ESPN do it.
Really?
Yeah.
It makes more sense in a comedy show.
Well, okay. So
in
what?
Sports?
This is what happened. So I don't remember if it was last year, but ESPN did a segment. I don't remember what show it was. One of the shows did a segment talking about Evo, which is the annual fighting game tournament. So there was a segment during the final 8 of I believe it was Guilty Crown. No, not Guilty Crown. Guilty Gear. Sorry, Guilty Crown's the anime. There was a situation where a guy won one of the rounds and thought he won the match, so he got up and started to celebrate.
Oh.
Meanwhile, his opponent easily knocked him out and there was like that whole moment where like he stood up and was like, yeah, and then he looks back at the screen and realizes what's going on. It's like, oh no, and and ESPN covered that in that box style. So I just saw that. I'm like, man, it's spreading everywhere.
Yeah. So to explain what the box style is, that you have basically a picture-in-picture.
Yes.
And they had 2 celebrities. I forget what their names are, but they're very, very well known. And they're known for making fun of people. And more importantly, they're known for making fun of Yamada, because Yamada's Yamada, and they've known him for 20 years.
Sasuke, here's my life.
Yeah. Well, not just that, they've known him since Banzuke.
I know, but they show that clip.
Bansuke. Yeah, I gotta get used to that.
They showed that clip so many times.
Well, that's how they know him. And but the funny part is that the way they did it were you had the 6 celebrities go in a row, and then they had a fluff piece before Akiyama's run. Then Akiyama ran, and then they had a fluff piece for Yamada's run, and then Yamada ran. Now, what I find funny is that they automatically started making fun of Yamada as soon as the fluff piece started, because if Yamada's fluff piece was, I had to explain it. It was you can tell that he milked it for all it's worth. It's like the only thing that I kept thinking of was, this is a professional. He's straight up talento. He was playing it from beginning to end. There was a one point where he was doing quote unquote training for the video game.
Oh yes, and okay. I have to talk about that. So yes. Okay, that part I genuinely like. So for those of you who don't know, there is this show in Japan called Game Center CX.
Yes.
And so it's a really good show. A few of the episodes were released on DVD in America. There really needs to be, more people needs to see this show. It's a great show. It's about this comedian who goes by the name the Kacho. You could actually play as his avatar in Super Mario Maker, so this all comes full circle. Basically, Yamada is training for this event on the set, which is just a room in one of the buildings that they film in. Of Game Center CX, dressed as the host, and even doing his whole thing where he's wearing a cooling head pad that he does, and he's playing Super Mario World, and supposedly he beats the whole thing in his stream. Yeah. And so when I saw that, I'm just like, well, he's officially a comedian now, as far as I'm concerned. So
yeah, he's been doing it. He was there the year before. That's where he ran. He was the coach to the monkey.
Yes, because that was hilarious.
Yeah,
that was
either way.
This one was better. Let's just.
I know, but it was funny because I was seeing the game. You can tell with some of the celebrities, it's sort of like, ooh, ah, and they were dying. They're that one because it started off where he's doing sort of the Rocky run, where he's running from a distance and he's coming up the hill and he's totally hamming it up. And I thought one of the guys was gonna die because he was laughing so hard.
Yeah.
So I thought that was funny. And then after all of that build up, they both fall on the same place,
The first obstacle.
The
steps to the barrels.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just thought it was funny because I think they started saying, after all that buildup, I mean, what?
Yeah.
In fact, you had one of the comedians get all the way to the double
obstacle.
Pendulum.
Yes.
Yeah. The TikTok. No.
The TikTok.
In fact, after comparing
right.
after comparing the TikTok, like the Jesse Graff's run, that I've just seen it is very different.
Yes, it's similar but different.
Yes, and so it's just it's interesting.
Yes.
So for people that think that they're going to see the TikTok, it's not quite the same thing.
No.
So look forward to it.
Yes. The results were actually kind of disappointing overall because there's one thing that was kind of funny is whenever the comedians chose Super Mario Maker first for the first obstacle, it'd be like 3, 2, 1, go, and then they run off stage from the starting place.
That was always backwards.
Yeah. So 2 comedians failed the first obstacle in Super Mario Maker. You have Yamada and Akiyama failing the first obstacle in real life. You had 2 people fail the music box, which is actually a good indicator of what you were talking about last year about how that obstacle is about commitment, because neither HG or the woman fully committed to it.
Well, you also notice that the top is a little bit different now.
Yes, you got less room at the top. But either way, neither of them fully committed to actually climbing the thing. That didn't help.
Yeah.
One person failed the double pendulum. And
in fact, he was the one that rocked the Mario game really hard.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he did Mario for all of them until he eventually got to the TikTok. HG.
He's now the third of the Golden Bombers to actually hit the course.
Oh, okay, that's cool. And HG actually passed the steps rolling hill combo obstacle in person, and then
legit.
He did legit. And then he did Mario Maker. No one wanted to do the TIE Fighter with Mario Maker. In real life, they all did the Mario Maker version. To
be fair, I can understand why they didn't want to do it
because of muddy shoes.
Yes, and you saw just the caked on everything.
When HG was doing the music box, you can see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, he left like mud prints all over.
But he kept his hat and glasses on, so at least he looked stylish doing it.
So for people that are wondering if it was going to be that swampy, not quite. When we got there the following day, I remember how I had said we've gone through like 3 seasons in a day. The only thing missing was snow.
Right.
It dried up a bit. You still had mud sections. In fact, the hard part was not on the side of the audience, but the other side, you still clearly had a lot of problems with mud. And as you can tell, because that's where they had the big boxes that had the Wednesday Downtown thing. But I think that was on Thursday. I'm almost positive that was recorded on Thursday. Because the next videos that were done, I think that was Friday because it was not that muddy and it was not that rainy. That was interesting. Now, I think at this point people are used to the 360 technology where you have a camera that can record all the way around itself. Yeah. And if you're just looking at it on a regular TV screen or whatever, to me, it's still jarring. The only way that you would really find that of use, William, you had mentioned that it works better on your phone.
Yeah, the 360.
This is a VR experience.
Yeah, the 360 videos in general work best on a phone using the gyroscope and stuff like that. It works better in my personal experience. But yeah, and also it's a relatively new technology.
Now, Team Ninja Warrior did that for a couple of their behind the scenes, and I found it just as jarring. And they didn't have it; they had it on a boom as well, but it was just. Yamada did a fantastic job holding that together.
Yes, he did.
He did a really good job because most people would just basically just swing it around. He was extremely careful to keep that as steady as possible, and it was neat for what it was. I appreciated that he did that. There were 4 videos in total, and then he did a how-to Sasuke, which of course, again, I'll spare you the jokes on that one. It's sort of like,
I won't.
Take some of your own advice.
It's the irony of Katsumi Mama teaching you how to Sasuke is that you probably will be better off learning from the octopus.
Yeah.
No, the real irony is that you'd be better off learning from a couple of celebrities who are not associated with Sasuke typically because they have done better in recent years.
Now, Wednesday Downtown, which I found hilarious because he was giving a lot of lip to everybody that kept failing, and so then when he failed, that was a genuine reaction. You can tell when they're like set up reactions, like, and they were snickering. Right. HG was sitting there going, and then of course him and Akiyama basically conferring with each other, and just I was laughing so hard because that was just so genuine what their reaction was. But it worked out. It was there for comedic purposes, and it worked well. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And the more important thing is I wanted as much exposure as possible so people can see more of it, and I'm hoping that people that saw, because Wednesday Downtown actually gets some pretty decent ratings.
That's good.
So if they know, they didn't even have a date by that point. By the time they ended up getting the date was the day of the Yatsui festival. So, which is the next thing. Yatsui festival was held on the 19th. I think Sunday the 19th, if I'm not mistaken. And it was a music festival held in I'm trying to remember where in Tokyo. Either way, it was held in Tokyo, and you had Shingo, Yuji, Kano, Tomo, Ryo, and Shinya, and Inui was also there as well. But they just had a small thing on the stage. It was a music festival, so you had a lot of musical acts and other comedians and stuff like that. And they had an entire section just with Sasuke. So they had a obstacle course thing, but it was a combination salmon ladder. It was actually, I think it was a double salmon ladder, or it looked like a double salmon ladder. And then it was also as a as the cliffhanger, crazy cliffhanger, just the jump part. So you had ledges facing each other, and then did that. And this was on stage. So as a side note for the festival, because they were there, that was also the same weekend as AW8's competition. So they were not at the USA versus World. So this is the first year that Japan will not be in USA versus World. So, but that was the same weekend. So, but still, I like that they're spreading out and doing different things, trying to get a different demographic to watch the show. Because I'm hoping again that we get at least better ratings than we have before. So we'll see.
So I just thought of a really bad joke. Speaking of USA versus the World. So due to recent events, does this mean that there won't be any British people on Team Europe?
There were British people on Team Europe. I'm gonna smack you.
Actually, to be fair, they filmed it before the vote, so
yes,
it's still good.
It was before the vote.
That's gonna be interesting if the. I mean, I imagine they're going to completely ignore that little detail when they eventually air it. But
well, to be fair, they have 2 years.
So they're still technically part of the union.
They're still part of the EU. So
I'm sorry, I just thought of that, and that made me
yeah.
When you
It's already been brought up, so I actually completely forgot about that. But yeah, but that's okay, because since when is Sean McCall actually part of France?
That is a good point. That is a good point.
So it kind of really doesn't matter anyway.
There you go.
What was said where the points don't matter. Everything's made up and the points don't matter. Okay, that was my joke. Okay, sorry.
There you go. So, you want to talk some obstacles?
Yeah, so which I'm sure you'd be very, very happy to talk about. Now that you've actually, I'm so happy about this, first of all, because you actually get to see all of it without having this clandestine, like, in the previous years where people have no idea what we're talking about. Specifically when Monster 9 was running things, they never showed anything. You would have, like, a clandestine photo of it was one year where we had if anybody has seen what the lot looks like in Midoriyama, you have a section where there's a BMX course, and at one point the BMX there was a championship that was held there, and they had these absolutely gorgeous at that point HD photos of the BMX competition, and behind it they had built Sasuke. It was still in the process of being built, but all the kids from SMF at that point, and which is funny because back then they were actually kids and now they're adults, which freaks me out, but they were still kids, and they would take photos and blow them up. So you have, this guy in a BMX bike flying in the air, but underneath you can see, oh, okay, the wall is back, and then they're circling, and then you have like this basically 2 pixels. Oh, that means that this obstacle is there because the rigging is there for this, and so we don't have to do that anymore. And even when we had the original photos, because the original photos that were shown were the quad steps of Rolling Hill, TIE Fighter, the double pendulum, and the last 2 obstacles in the second stage, and then of course the final. But those photos were like detective, like, what's behind it? So that was as far as we got. But again, thanks to Inui, he showed all the rest of the stuff.
Yeah. So funny story about that. When we were recording the episode last month, you were like, oh, you can kind of see stage 3 with some of those first stage obstacles. And I saw some of those obstacles that you were talking about, but I didn't want to say anything because we were recording long already. I just wanted to end it. So, so before the official reveal, I realized 2 of the big changes in stage 3.
Okay, so let's start off with stage 1 and then go from there.
We already covered a lot of stage 1, but just to make things, just to give everyone the official order of everything. First is the quad steps. Now done in the what is considered the A&W style.
Yeah, I mean those are definitely A&W quad steps.
And then it goes directly into Rolling Hill, no pad in between, and then is followed up with the TIE Fighter, officially licensed from Star Wars Japan.
Yep.
Followed up by the Music Box. And then it's followed up by the Double Pendulum, which is the step brother of the TikTok. Then it's followed up with the return of the Tackle. And the deadly combination of that with the Warped Wall.
Yes.
And then it's the Tarzan Rope. And then they end it with the Lumberjack Climb.
Yeah.
Yes. And then
they did put the time. I forgot what it was, but somebody did mention that the time was given on that.
Really?
I don't remember what it was.
I completely missed that. So stage 2. So first up, we got the cross slider. Then we got the salmon ladder up, salmon ladder down combo, which I don't remember the official Japanese name because I don't want to.
Yeah.
And was it Nidori or something like that? I don't know.
Kudari, and I forget the other one. Yeah. But yeah, literally means up and down.
Yes. Then we got the spider walk with the spider drop towards the end of it. Then it's the return of everyone's favorite, the backstream. Then it's and then it's the return of the long gone conveyor belt, but now back. It's been.
The last one was what? Sasuke 5?
No, it wasn't that. It wasn't that old. I'd have to look up.
Oh, yeah, you're right. It wasn't the teens.
Yeah.
It wasn't a teens because I saw Nagano going through that.
Yes. Yeah, it was there until they replaced it with the metal spin. Metal spin.
Okay. Yeah, metal spin was like 15, 14, 15. So it was probably up at
It was 14.
Probably 11, 12.
It was 14.
Okay.
Yeah, so that means 13 would be the last time.
And then the wall lift, and we already talked about.
It's now down to the ground, which is one of the things I asked for with last year when we were doing our obstacle special. I said I wanted it down to the ground, and I got it.
Yeah.
In fact, there's a lot of things that I said last year that I'm getting. So. Also,
if we want to talk about something that I wanted from last year that actually is there from this year, go back all the way to the first stage. You remember how those comedians managed to run backwards at the start line?
Yeah.
Those steps are courtesy of my ankle. Because those steps were not there before.
Oh.
Remember how I screwed up my ankle where I jumped off the back?
Oh.
And it was like a 3 to almost 4 foot drop off the back. It was a meter high. Yeah. So they actually had basically makeshift steps so they can come down the back. That's why there's a space between the where they put the chairs and like the stage itself and then the start line. So yeah, there's more of a
By the way,
thank my ankle for that.
You're welcome. I just double checked. The conveyor belt is indeed. Last time we saw the conveyor belt was 13.
Okay, cool.
Yes.
Cool. Nice job.
Yeah, thank you.
So.
All right. Then moving on to stage 3. So, you might remember last year when I was talking about the drum hopper. I said that I wanted the drums to be at different heights. And so now we have the drum hopper Kai, where we have drums at different heights. Specifically, they go upwards.
Yeah.
And that is exactly what I wanted. So I'm happy about that.
Now I did write down on my blog. Crap, I think it's the previous one before. How high it is. I think it's almost a foot.
I don't know.
Yeah, but it goes up exponentially by that much. So not exponentially, but it goes up by a factor of. Yeah, that would be exponentially if it was a factor of. So, but yeah.
No, it's not exponential because it's a straight line gradient. It would have to be.
Okay, that's true. Yeah, exponentially would be compounded onto itself. So
it would have to look like the warped wall in order to be exponential.
True. Yeah, you're absolutely correct.
Yes.
Yep. It's been 20 years since I've been in college, but
I'm an engineering major. I have to know this stuff.
And you just graduated, so.
It's been 5 years. I didn't just graduate.
As far as I'm concerned. An entire life somebody has gone to even high school, the time frame the frame that I've been in school. So
anyway.
Yeah.
So yes. So the drum hopper is better than ever, and I'm happy about it. And
it
then
lights up?
Yes. Oh, that's good. It's always good when it lights up. All right. Yeah. Next obstacle is an obstacle that I said I wanted back. It's the flying bar. Yep. They're giving me everything I want with stage 3. Mostly. It is it the same thing? It looks like the same thing.
Yeah, it's one less.
Oh, okay.
It's again because they have to fit size. It between the configuration. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But that's cool. I'm glad it's back. I'm always a big fan of flying bar.
And the fact that it's early.
Yes.
Is an interesting thing. So.
And then we got the Sidewinder Kai, which again I said I want the Sidewinder back, but a little bit harder. And apparently that's the case. It's back and a little bit harder. To my understanding, one of them drops.
They all do.
They all drop. All right, even better.
Well, it's like the first one won't, but then I have to be careful how much information. But he did. The point is that he did explain it. Okay. When you're on the first one, you jump on the second one. The second one drops, and then the second one goes to the third one, and that one drops too. I think I'm fine in explaining this because everybody's gonna want to know rules and stuff like that. there's a black line
Oh yeah,
that you see.
that was there last year.
You cannot climb above it.
Yeah, it makes sense.
So to give you an idea how much difficult it is, remember how before all they would do is just basically shimmy their way all the way up and then
To the
not
black line.
anymore. You can't do that anymore.
Right.
Because you're now lower than you were before, but the thing is, so you have less area to jump onto.
And that is exactly what I wanted. So
Yeah,
good,
and
good
that
on
makes
them.
sense. And yeah, so that was just interesting to see when I realized it's like, oh, that actually does take some of the consideration that people had with that obstacle.
All right.
So,
Next up, this is one of the things that I noticed last month, and I didn't comment on it because it's So the ultimate crazy cliffhanger.
yes.
There's 2 jumps now.
Yes.
So what's
Did
your
you notice something else that now
there's
again?
I'm looking at a video. There's a curved piece.
Now
and,
he
and there's
physically said it. The description.
also-
What was the description?
also there's no break in between the cliffhanger and the next obstacle.
Wait. Before you even get that far,
Okay.
what was important about what he said about that second ledge?
I don't remember. Tell
Oh,
me.
you didn't. It's mechanized.
I'm sorry. What?
It goes up and down 3 feet.
Wait. I'm sorry. What?
It has a motor.
Where did he say what? What?
He says it on there. It mechanized. It goes up and down 3 feet. In fact, I think it was it Philip or Jan Friend? One of the two asked him. No, I think it was TCM. One of the mods asked him, does it physically go up and down 3 feet? And he goes, yes, it is on a motor. It goes up and it goes down. And it's not like a pendulum thing. It literally goes up and down by itself. It's on at all times. In fact, that's all you hear is the motor.
What?
Yes.
How did I miss this?
I don't know, but it was on the description. When I saw it, that he actually physically wrote it with centimeters and everything as to how far, and then clarified that it is motorized and it goes up and down.
Was
This
this
is
on-
the second ledge. It
this
is on.
on-
It is on the description of that photo
Of Twitter.
on Twitter. Yeah,
Okay. Because
it goes up 3 feet.
I didn't
So it goes,
really.
"Nee." This one, but everybody missed it except for TCM, and TCM's like, wait. So then he sent the message publicly to Twitter. Does this physically go up 3 feet, up and down? And then he wrote back, yes. It's like, on motor. He's like, yes. I'm like, oh my god, he actually confirmed it. So I'm like, okay, good. But yes, it is. In fact, that was the first thing that I noticed. I'm like, okay, what is this contraption? Because you can see it from a distance. And then, what is that sound? And then I saw the ledge move, and then you just heard cackling. Everybody was laughing like, oh dear God. So yes, you jump over first, and you don't turn around, because again, Sasuke still has that rule that you do not turn around. But
Wow.
yeah, you have to jump back over on a moving platform.
Yeah, I'm
And
reading
yes,
it.
the ledge is still the same. So it's 3 centimeters, which is just under. It's just under an inch, or just an inch, I think it is. Yeah, so it's a lot thinner than the A&W one
Yeah.
by a long shot, and it moves. So you have to time your jump after you survive the first one to jump back across on a moving platform. Yeah.
I got
But
No,
what, big translation's a little weird?
No, I just got mixed feelings on it in general.
Yeah.
Cause
Now,
I'm not, cause like I said this last year. I'm not the biggest fan of the crazy cliffhanger in general.
I wish.
and-
Well, we had the discussion of
Yeah.
getting rid of the cliffhanger entirely.
And it's like when I saw originally that there was 2 jumps. Now I'm kind of like I was very Yeah, I wasn't a big fan of it.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I mean the whole mechanized thing. I would have preferred if it was only one jump. If you're going to have the mechanized thing in general, because like, let's be real. Like I don't know what happens, but I imagine this obstacle is going to be very difficult to pass.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's kind of like, I would have preferred, because like the other stuff before and even the stuff after it, with the exception of maybe the pipe slider, it's a lot more. Well, I guess a lot more strength based. Like even the flying bar, there's a little bit of skill, but there's a lot of like strength involved in that.
So you think there's too much luck in that?
I mean the regular crazy cliffhanger seemed a bit too specific skill based at times.
Okay. Yep.
And
that's a common.
And this one, like even before the whole mechanized part, now it's like, well, now it seems like very specifically skilled base.
Yeah.
And I'm not the biggest fan of it personally.
Okay. No, that's actually a pretty common.
I would have actually preferred if it went to like original. Well, not original. The old 3-prong cliffhanger, like seen in Sasuke 17, and have that be like motorized or something. You know.
I just wish, again, and I wish they had more of a budget, because none of this would be here. Literally none of what we're talking about would be here, because everything would be brand new.
Yeah, yeah.
So you're stuck with what you have because you have basically 1/4 the budget that you had from the year before.
It's just
so you have to basically just like, look, you got the rigging for everything else. What can you possibly do? Because otherwise you're going to have another Kansensei Ha. It's just going to happen if you basically put the same course before, because everybody's trained up to that level, so you now have to raise it.
Yeah.
But
it's just
you don't have the budget. It's just like that's just the problem.
It's this problem that I've been having with Stage 3 in general, where there seems to be a lot of focus put on the cliffhanger as like the sole obstacle that people fail. Because, you know, it's rare that someone would fail an obstacle before, and it's even rare that someone would fail an obstacle after for the past few years. So it's like, you know, it would be nice to, like, I mean, the stuff that's before the crazy cliffhanger now, like, that's stuff that I believe people can fail more easily.
Okay, because that was what my next question was going to be.
Yes. So
now,
that's
how about
good.
afterwards?
Yes. And I'm happy with that. So yes, after the crazy cliffhanger, the ultimate crazy cliffhanger, actually I wouldn't mind if this obstacle would like eventually replace the cliffhanger in general.
Okay.
The vertical limit Kai, it's now multi-segmented, and at slightly different heights even.
Yeah. The 3 ledges.
And it looks really cool.
And there is no break between the mechanized ledge that's going up and down and you trying to mount onto the vertical limit.
Yeah, that's kind of weird.
And then at the end of that, you have to try to shimmy your body to get onto the landing, the only resting point from that point on, to the pipe slider.
Yes. And yeah, I'm fine with the pipe slider being
back. Which is well underneath it.
Well, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind the pipe slider being back. I don't mind the pipe slider being back because, you know,
pipe slider's hard as hell.
Yeah, I know. Also, it's like you know, it's one of those things where it's like if you can't come up with something better, just stick with the pipe slider.
Yeah,
because it's
better than the grinding ring.
Yeah, I mean it's a really good obstacle in general, so I don't mind it being there.
And it's classic Sasuke.
Oh yeah, because like I mean we struggled last year to even think of a good idea for a replacement and couldn't really come up with one.
And Lord knows there've been plenty of people that have failed it right at the platform.
Yeah, you got that really good dramatic thing.
Oh yeah.
So I don't know. Yeah, maybe next year or something they'll come up with something new or something. Although I imagine next year they'll probably focus a bit more on stage 2, which is
If they get money back, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, which
stage 2 to me looks almost. I was a little disappointed.
Well, we
but
can get
then
to that
again,
in a minute.
Okay. So let's just finish off the. We already talked about the final though.
Yes, we did talk about the final stage. The one thing that I've noticed, I guess just to reiterate, for the final stage, you got the spider climb, followed by a salmon ladder in the middle of the right after that spider climb, and finally a rope climb to the top of the tower, giving us our first 3 obstacle final stage.
Yeah.
And one thing that I noticed is that in terms of number of obstacles, this is officially the longest Sasuke course.
Yes.
So, yeah. So if you count the spider drop and the spider walk as 2 separate obstacles, there are technically 26 obstacles this entire thing, which makes it the longest.
Yeah.
And even if you don't count those as 2 separate obstacles, it's still 25, which makes it the longest. And so that's crazy. So we'll see. We'll see if anyone. It's funny because Sasuke used to be a lot shorter if you look back in the old days.
Well, yeah.
And then
because it was never meant to be as big as that.
And then they kept making it longer, and that seems to be the plan these days. Just make it long. Oddly enough, stage 3 is it's still only 6 obstacles. It's been longer in the past in terms of number of obstacles.
Well, considering it still has to fit within the same frame,
I mean,
because even
it's the same length.
Yeah.
But in terms of obstacles, there's oddly less, which on paper, if you're just looking at a list, makes it seem easier than courses in the past. But in reality, when you look at the course itself, there's no doubt in my mind that this is probably there's no doubt in my mind this is the hardest stage 3 they've come up with.
Yeah.
Largely because of one obstacle, which is part of my problem with it even existing in the first place.
Yeah, and just
you know what?
It is what it is.
If the crazy cliffhanger was like the last obstacle, maybe I'd be more okay with it. But then it'd be even harder because they'd be more tired, and so you have this ultimate conundrum in my head.
That's why I had said that it would probably be better if they just basically threw the entire thing out and started all over.
Yeah.
They don't have the luxury to do it, though.
Because I've always been of the mindset that the hardest obstacle of stage 3 should be the last obstacle. And that mindset was
progressively getting harder?
Yeah. And that's because of my mindset when I first started watching Ninja Warrior on G4. I watched it with my family. We always viewed the pipe slider as the hardest obstacle of stage 3. This was the 15, 16, 17 era. So that mindset. So when in Sasuke 18, when the cliffhanger became like this new bar to beat, and every time there's a new cliffhanger, it became the new killer, so to speak. You had this, weird thing, and the gliding ring, when it worked properly, it was not the pipe slider. It just wasn't the same. And so the balance has been weird. The pipe slider is still a hard obstacle, but it's clearly not the hardest, and that it's just a personal preference.
Well, you did notice a difference when Monster 9 started taking over, and it was really funny because I was having this discussion where you got because most people didn't really know of Inui's name until he came back.
Right.
But when you go back in time to really notice the amount of input that man has had in previous Sasuke, then it started to make sense. Because his he was director of the first one all the way to 14. And you started to notice the difference starting at 15. And that was when he was gone. And that point, Higuchi had full control of absolutely everything. Like, in other words, it became a dictatorship at that point. And then Monster 9 became a thing by that point. And and the focus shifted heavily towards those types of specialized obstacles. Shingo said it best. We were talking to him in general. This was actually last year, where he wasn't entirely happy with how current Sasuke is, like Monster 9 era forward, because the thing that made Sasuke unique in the past is that any person watching from their couch would have the misconception of, hey, I can do this looks easy. As opposed to now is, oh god, there's no way I'd ever even bother getting in that show because there's no way I'd never get past these obstacles. So your thing makes absolutely perfect sense because that's his take on it. You know, he has no illusions of ever getting to the final. Like, none. And he doesn't even bother anymore in terms of that. He wants to get as far as he can and he'll train for it and whatever, but he's under no delusions of grandeur. So, and that's sad because the point of the matter was anybody that's new that has no background, which is I think the reason why, and it was actually almost symbolic of Anastas's run last year, Wreathman, where someone that had never seen the show got really far until he hit that specialized obstacle, and that was the cliffhanger.
Yeah.
So, had it been any other tournament, we would have had another champion. A brand new person literally right off the street, if that cliffhanger was not there. Because that is a specialized obstacle that you have to train for that specific way, or you're not going to pass it. A&W has bigger issues where they have too many specialized obstacles.
Yeah, that's an entirely different conversation.
Yeah. But
So
anyway, so you said there was
let's,
something else in the second stage that you wanted to talk about?
Well, because I was just mainly want to get to the fact that we got questions.
Yes.
From people, and one of we got you asked for questions, and boy, you got questions from people. So let's get through these questions. And speaking of stage 2. We got one from the Scottish Ninja, from SMF. Were you disappointed about Stage 2 not being given a huge overhaul? Would you give it a complete makeover unlike they did? Well, first off, personally, I am disappointed. I've mentioned this in the past that Stage 2 is my favorite stage.
Yes.
But I think the thing that I'm most disappointed with is that the cross slider is still there. Because one of my favorite things about Stage 2 is how it starts. It's always like this big sliding obstacle and all that. And I was looking forward to seeing the new way that they would slide into the action.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that didn't happen.
Now, pure speculation on my part, partly based with knowing stuff from before, and then because I don't have specifics.
Because of the schedule and budget changes, probably.
Yeah, the budget. Yeah. What happened was it was supposed to be 3 weeks later, and as a result, I knew for a fact that he lost at least 2 obstacles, possibly 3. So the speculation part is that was the second stage.
Yeah.
And it makes sense when you look at it going,
it had the least changes.
So at least they got, they changed the
wall lift.
The walls, and
they added
put the conveyor belt in there.
Yeah. I would have been nice if they got rid of the backstream.
Oh, he's still hoping to get the whole second stage underwater.
How is that even possible?
I don't know. We've had that conversation, and he's just like, la, 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 I don't want to hear it. He's just as stubborn as I am. But yeah, he knows I hate the obstacle, and he really doesn't care. Anyway,
if I had the power, I would give it a complete makeover. Even though
yes.
I really liked the obstacles from last year overall.
Yeah.
I would give it
a
change.
I still think it, even not just the second stage, I wish they can just bulldoze everything and start over. So
Yes.
I was happy to see things like the double pendulum come under, because that was new. I'd never seen
Yeah.
that before. Now, even by comparison, even if you were to say, okay, that was the TikTok, but it was new to Sasuke. And so I like seeing different things. If they didn't have the issues that they have now, and they had even half of the budget that A&W has, we wouldn't be having this conversation. We'll be,
Right.
huh?
And yeah, but personally, if I only had one stage to choose, I'd work on stage 2.
Yeah, and so
That's just a personal
and the same
preference.
thing, and for me answering that question as well. Definitely, I would have basically bulldozed all of the second stage and started all over again.
All right then. So, Scottish Ninja has another question, and this one's aimed at you.
Mm-hmm.
What was it like to finally meet Texan in Tokyo in real life?
Yes, number 58, Grace Mineta.
Yes.
That, for those who are not familiar with who she is, she's the one half of Texan in Tokyo. In fact, she's the Texan part, and the Tokyo part is her husband Ryosuke.
Oh,
they
really?
Have a yep.
Why are they called that?
Because she's American and he's Japanese, and so they married. I think a few years ago.
What state's she from?
Texas. She's actually from all over the place, and she's actually goes through all that. But they're absolutely and totally freaking awesome. I was very, very happy to meet them both. I met her first because she arrived first, and it was, again, remember how I've mentioned before that I'm a people watcher. Like, I'm always interested in the experience that people have with my passion, which is Sasuke. And so this is the first time she'd ever been to the tournament, so this is the first time she's seen the obstacles, and of course she's coming in as a competitor. So I saw every range of emotion where it's the, okay, I'm excited, because she came by herself at first, and so she was like, I'm excited, and blah blah blah, and then, whoo, yeah, there it is, and like I'm like recording her through all this whole thing, and then she goes away for the demonstration, and then she comes back, she goes, okay, I don't want to do this anymore. It was so cute. And then later on, her family had to come over. It was his family mostly, because her parents are in Ghana. And so it was, I think it was Ryosuke, his parents, I think their best friend, and I forget somebody else. But they were absolutely amazing, and what you see on YouTube, like their personality, that is their personality, and I think that's why I've been following them for as long as I have in YouTube, because they don't have like a shtick or anything like that. Exactly who you see is exactly who you get, and
okay.
It was really, really awesome. So they're. It was just really fun, and as usual, I have no idea if they're going to be shown on TV. I hope they are, because the run in general was fantastic, and I love how, I'd explain it. I love how much emotion that they show. I mean, she's almost like a much younger version than I was. Like, okay, here we go. Yeah, okay, that did. Ooh, okay, that's a thing. As opposed to the typical, oh, well, I'm here to do blah, blah, blah. Let's do funny. No, this is like normal person on the course, and she had no problems. Like, you saw her emotions at all times, and I thought that. And then Ryosuke is very much an extrovert, and that was, I mean, just, it was really, really cool. So I hope and pray that they're shown at some point.
Well, hopefully they are. And,
I hope so. But yeah, I had an
it.
awesome time. So
right.
Even if that doesn't happen, I'll talk about it and show like the videos of the behind the scenes when all of that's out.
Cool. All right. Next question. Really quick one from Logie Bear on Twitter. Do you think the course would look much better with a higher budget? Yes.
Yes.
All right.
That's it. Yes.
There you go. This one is from Sasuke Owl on SMF. What is your favorite new obstacle?
Of the new obstacles.
Well, I know the answer.
Go ahead.
For me, it's actually the vertical limit Kai. I really like the way that looks, and it makes me sad because, quite frankly, I don't think we're going to see it in action.
Okay.
But I like the vertical limit. I like the new look for it, and yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Did they show the? Did they show?
Number
what?
2 would be the TIE Fighter.
Okay, so that I was. Yeah, TIE Fighter actually, mine would be flipped.
Yeah,
because
fine.
I did like the vertical limit. I actually didn't mind a cliffhanger. If the cliffhanger was gonna be there, I didn't mind that. Again, I would have replaced it, but I did like the TIE Fighter. The double pendulum for me, and even the TikTok, it's kind of weird looking to look at.
Right,
It's hard
yeah.
to explain.
I understand.
Like your
It
body
is
does weird whatever. To compare it, only because I can, I still prefer the double pendulum over the TikTok. Because they
right.
work mechanically different.
Yes, they do.
And so the people that are expecting the TikTok, you're not going to see the TikTok. You're going to see the double pendulum, and it works
Right.
vastly different. So, but yeah, TIE Fighter. And it's mostly because because of the very first time I saw it, because you can see it from the parking lot. And I looked over, and I'm like, the hell? My God, that looks just like a TIE Fighter. And we're like, nah, they would never do that. And then, when Perry got back from the demonstration, he goes, that is totally the TIE Fighter. I'm like, what? That is literally the TIE Fighter. I'm like, you gotta be, nope, that is definitely the TIE Fighter. I'm like, oh my God, they named it. I'm like, they're gonna get sued. And then so when I saw it in action, it's deceptive. And did you see any photos on Twitter that spoiled somebody on it?
No.
Okay, good.
Oh wait. I saw one.
Right.
I won't say anything else.
Okay. Well, it's on
That one?
public.
No.
Well, the reason why I was and I'm not going to say who it is. There was somebody that was on it. Did you notice the strain on his neck?
No.
Okay, if any, again, I look at the pictures for any details and stuff, and remember, I didn't get to see that close. I wasn't on top of it. So a lot of these things that are like really, really up close, I get to see a lot of the details that I just missed when I was there. And you just see the strain on somebody's neck on how hard you have to hold on to that thing. So, it would have been nice if somebody tried it on that Wednesday downtown thing, so you can actually get. I mean, you saw it as from a tester, but that's just not the same thing. At least for me, it's not the same thing. So,
Okay.
But either way, so yeah, TIE Fighter number 1.
All right. So next up, we got a question from TCM from the forums. Did the weather scheduling changes raise tensions for the competitors more so this year than any average tournament, you'd say?
Yes.
All right.
Big time. To give an idea of by comparison to last year, and this I've actually gone through an interview with Tomo after his Sasuke 30 run that's on my blog now. He's one of the type of competitors that is very, very common, that they kind of freak out the entire day right before their run until, like, they avoid everything. Like, he spent the entire time away from the course as much as possible.
Right.
Now you're stuck because it's now 6 hours behind schedule. Like, it was that bad. It was that far out. So it's starting to get worse, and then you're starting to pay attention to the weather conditions. It's now pitch black because it gets dark so much earlier because the sun is up so much earlier. So the day-night schedule is it's just... So then you start feeling the weather changes, and you're like, oh god, am I gonna be running at freaking midnight on the first stage? So you started to notice how people react differently. And I think I said the story before with Anastas, and where Anastas and I were talking during the break between, the whether or not they were going to run the first stage, and then they had to wipe everything down, and everybody ended up going over to get something to eat, that sort of thing. He was very, very different as opposed to the other ones. I didn't even get to talk to them very, very much. I think I had like a couple minutes. In fact, the first time I really got to talk to Tomo was in the beginning. And sort of like, hey, how you doing? Okay, quick. And then you can tell from their eyes going like, okay, we're in competition mode. Because one good comparison, if anybody's ever had any interviews with Geoff Britten, they're identical. They apologize profusely. It's like, look, I am not trying to be standoffish. I'm just a very nervous person. So if I don't want to talk to you before, please don't take it personally. After my run, I'll be first person. We'll go out to lunch, whatever. That's exactly how a lot of these competitors were. And people that normally weren't skittish were skittish. So it was an extremely tensey moment. And the second day, in my opinion, was 10 times worse. Because at that point, you had the entire night to completely think about this, and now you're right up, you start off. So it's a little bit weird, so it should be for a very interesting tournament in general, because that's the first time the dynamic has changed. I've never seen anything like that.
Well, that sounds very interesting. We'll see how that plays out. Mm-hmm. But speaking of Geoff Britten, since you brought him up, NNVK on your blog wants to know why Brent Steffensen was invited and not Geoff Britten, and I imagine you can answer that one pretty quickly.
Yeah, Geoff was actually invited for Sasuke 32 when the date was originally in June, because it was supposed to be like the week before AEW Finals in Vegas. Right. Then the date changed. And then it changed to the exact weekend as Philadelphia. And for people that understand, that's the same weekend that Geoff had to qualify. So he couldn't physically be in two places at once. And because it was moved so quickly, it was moved in the beginning of May. So it was like, oh crap. And so at that point, they sent out a bunch of invites to several different people, and the only ones that were able to basically come at a moment's notice were people that already qualified, and that was Casey and Brent, and Drew had already done the exact same thing. So at that point, the ones that were able to get there, and given how the financial situation was with the tournament, people that were also able to pay their own way. So it was time frame, and then of course they're big stars anyway, so that was a very easy to have replaced. Hopefully, if things work out, maybe Geoff can go next year. But he was first invite. In fact, definitely he was the first invite and was set to compete in Japan. Had it not been that the date was changed.
That actually reminds me. Did you see that video of Rico Rivera running Sasuke Vietnam? Did you see him running A&W in the?
That was all over the internet. In fact, my nephew told me about that.
Yeah. So basically, he did a promotional run for A&W in his inflatable T-Rex costume. Mm-hmm. And then when he competed on Sasuke Vietnam, he ran the first stage in the T-Rex costume also, and he cleared it.
Yeah.
For A&W, he cleared all the obstacles except for the spin cycle, which is a hard enough obstacle to do when you don't have a giant inflatable head and body around you.
Yes.
So I can understand why he would fail that.
I did see that.
Yes. So yeah, that's a neat little diversion. But speaking of international competition, Universal Tuber from Twitter asks, Do you like the increased number of foreigners competing in Sasuke 32? Would you like to see more or less any specific people?
I like the amount because it's not obnoxious like it was during the Monster 9 era where you had 10 Americans. I think when there's too much of a presence of other ones, it knocks the balance out because this is still ultimately a Japanese show. So the like 3 Americans, we had someone from Sweden, we had one from Tahiti. I like that amount, a small amount, like it was pre-Monster 9. You had, Paul Anthony Tarek, and you had the Ham brothers. You had just a small handful that were, because each one was special. Right. They were like, oh, okay, and that wasn't like just representative of that country, but you were allowed to have a mix, a variety, as opposed to way too much from one country, which overshadows all the other ones. It didn't make any sense. So, but this amount I'm happy for, and Lord knows we've been working hard to try to get some foreigners back on the show. So I think it's a good amount. I'm happy at least NBC allowed it this time around.
Any specific person that's not Geoff Britten that you'd like to see on the show in the future?
Well, I'm always partial to is at least for women, like people like Lucy.
Right. Yeah, of course.
I would love, Jessie Graff would be fantastic on that show.
Oh, yeah, that's a really good one.
So, stuff like that. I want people that can respect what the show was. I don't like showboaters in general. Right. I don't know much of the newer people, and again, that goes with because I don't watch a lot of A&W recently. Right. And it's like, Strat would be fantastic comeback. I know Mike Bernardo will give everything to have a chance to go.
So
stuff like that. People that can
answers.
Yeah. The people that will respect the show and represent our country well, rather than look at me. And,
yeah.
We have enough of that, unfortunately, in this country. You already know. There's a lot of people that represents in the United States, and some which I could take or leave.
Of other people that you didn't steal my answers from, I wouldn't mind seeing Kevin Bull. I've always liked him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I like him too. Mm-hmm.
He comes across as a very down to earth guy, and he's really good on A&W. So I think he would represent well, and also, he does have a very unique look. Mm-hmm. Not by choice, but it's a very unique look, and I think the Japanese people would notice him on the course.
I remember when I was talking to Tomo that originally, this was before Brent had returned to Japan, where he liked Brent Steffensen and David Campbell because they had magnificent domes. Because at that point Tomo was into the bald look.
He's gonna love Kevin then.
Yeah, so I'm sure he goes over and go, wow.
He's got nothing.
Love unique people, and I like Kevin in general because I've at least the exposure that I had of A&W had been the USA versus Worlds, right? And he wasn't. I thought he was great, and
also he cleared an obstacle with his feet once. That takes guts.
You did tell me about that.
Yes.
So, but that's cool. Yeah, and
yes,
there's plenty of space for them. So long as it doesn't knock the balance out.
Yeah, I understand.
The fear that I would have is that when you have too many of them, it starts to strap the hands of the editor. Where all of a sudden people, you'll have the, problems like, well, you invited them all the way over there and you cut their run. How dare you? It's just like, and then that will be the conversation and people will be really upset about it. And it's like,
understood.
And the bigger issue is it's not going to be shown here in the United States anyway. So, you have that bigger issue as well.
It's a weird thing.
Yeah, it is a really weird thing. I'm hoping World Cup would change that when they finally can get that off the ground.
So, you already talked about this in great detail last month. So, but if there's anything new you want to quickly talk about, Lusitania Angel 313 asks, I don't. How did it feel to spend time with the All Stars? And do you have any funny moments with Shingo at all?
Actually, and yeah, I did talk profusely about that
Yeah.
last
So,
month.
anything
The
else you want to
Shingo
add?
one, no, I actually spent the least amount with Shingo this time around, and not by choice.
I know. No,
It just
how it
happened.
is.
Because I didn't have that much time with him. Shingo, I don't know how to explain it. Time didn't allow it because there were so many things
Yeah.
that were going on, and
No,
I wasn't
it just
about
happens.
to. Yeah, well, especially since it was Nagano's last tournament.
Right.
He was joined at the hip by him and Dakira, and I was not about to be that fan that was going to break that moment.
Oh, yeah, that's
So
fine.
when they were off, and then whenever Nagano would come over, to spend time with us, they would go off somewhere else, and I wasn't about to chase them down. So it's just, this is not going to happen. So no, I actually don't have many funny moments with Shingo. Sorry.
All right. So, on a similar subject, Sasuke Forever asks, did you talk to any of the Americans at all while you were there? And if there was any sort of special story that you wanted to share with that?
Yeah, I actually talked to. In fact, when the guys had first come in, the first one was actually Brent.
Right.
I actually have a small video of him saying hi. It started off, he thought it was a camera, and then realized that it was a video camera, and then he actually said hi to everybody. I saw Drew, and of course we've known each other since last year, and I saw Casey. I did not have any. I didn't talk to her at all. I spent more time talking to Drew, and I think mostly because we knew each other.
Yeah, that
Just
makes sense.
in general, yeah, and so I had a different rapport because just from knowledge. But yeah, Brent was really, really nice. I didn't get to talk to Casey at all, and Drew was awesome. Drew was absolutely awesome, and I think because of what happened last year, he was a little worried that he would not get invited back. So then you realized that he was invited back, and everyone loves him in Japan. Like, all the guys basically climb over each other to spend time with Drew because they don't know how this man exists.
Oh, well, that's good. That's good.
Yeah, so but yeah, I had a wonderful time. So Drew was an absolute sweetheart. So
That's good.
and-
All right, then. Let's see what we go for next. All right. From Twitter, from Zach Smith. How far does Will think Nagano will get, and hope how far he gets? So obviously you can't answer this.
Nope.
Because for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, I mean, the obvious answer is I hope he at least gets to the second stage.
Okay.
Even ideally, I'd like to get for him to see him in the third stage, but I'd settle for his final run. I'd settle for him beating the first stage.
Okay.
Now, where do I think he'll get to?
Mhm.
Okay, before I answer that, did he train the last year?
Yes.
Okay.
Not full year, but he did train.
I
for
know.
it.
Okay.
Mhm.
Huh. That's
He
a
actually
tough one.
he actually posted it on his Facebook.
Well, I
I
don't
would
follow him
s-
for Facebook, so.
Yeah. I don't
I
either,
would-
but I get updates from it.
Yeah, well, you get updates from everything.
Yes, I do. It's just as
If he can pass the warped wall, he can pass stage 1.
okay.
So either he fails the warped wall or he makes it to stage 2. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. This one's a very interesting one, and it might be more of a me question than a you question.
Okay.
But this is from Adam Fisher from Twitter. Do you think A&W does a better job giving exposure to female competitors than Sasuke?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, part of the problem is that, part of the difference, I guess, is that the format of Sasuke and the format of A and W. The format of A and W makes it much easier to give exposure to female competitors.
Yeah.
But also it's because, like, they have different MOs. A&W, they want larger female representation, and because they accept so many people onto the show, they get that. They want that female star because they want those Casey Catanzaro moments.
Yeah.
And so, and like, it's been proven that brings in exposure, that brings in news, at least in America. In Japan, I don't know, like, unless a woman beats the first stage, I don't really think any female competitor is going to give Sasuke exposure in Japan. And because, in A&W, a woman hasn't beaten stage 1 of Vegas, but because they have the regionals, we have instances where women have beaten both the qualifiers and the regional finals.
Yeah,
and
the show goes on for like 4 months.
Yeah, so I think because of the format of the show, the only time a woman has ever beaten stage 1 of Sasuke was Sasuke 2. It's been a while, so
18 years.
Yeah. So, it's a lot harder to give exposure to the female competitors when, unfortunately, they just haven't been, they just haven't been competing as well as the men. And, also, it doesn't help that, like, half of the female competitors that do compete on Sasuke are the comedian entertainer types. So there's not a lot of chances for the females to really shine on Sasuke.
Well, the closest that we got was last year, where you had Ayano getting to the top of the warp wall, and then she timed out.
Yeah.
I guess the good comparison would be compare Sasuke to Las Vegas. And they're almost identical, because they're on for just about the same time frame. When you really compare them, just Vegas, because it's what 3 hours one night. Was it 3 hours both nights?
Vegas.
It's 2 shows.
Yeah. They split it up and they do 2 recording sessions.
But it's still generally about the same length, maybe obviously longer on the A&W side, but it's still the same format. It's 100 people, and you only have a small sprinkling of women, and then that's it. And then the women don't get that very far. They're identical when it comes to that. However, you have all of regionals that goes on for weeks with no timer.
That's
when
true.
you have no timer, you get those runs. So, but as soon as you put them on a first stage course that has a timer, they're identical.
Yeah,
because there's actually more women on Sasuke than there are in A&W on Vegas.
That's true. Last year, I don't know about this year for obvious reasons. Last year there was only 10 women on the Vegas course, and actually no, correction, there was 11 women on the Vegas course. 10 of them were wild cards, and then there was Jessie Graff, who actually qualified. And so I know this year, how many women were there this year in Sasuke?
I think about the same.
Okay,
I think there were like 10.
So I think that ultimately that kind of answers our question. Is just the format of A&W just gives it more opportunities.
Yeah, it's there from like the beginning of spring, and then this year's going all the way into fall because the Olympics are going to split it up.
Now that said, I do think A&W is more likely to produce a woman clearing the first stage than Sasuke will anytime soon, just because the women of A&W are all competitors.
Yes, I actually agree with that, because again, the demographic is different than what it is that they're looking for. You get a lot of pop idols and gravure idols and stuff like that, and it's not quite the same thing.
Yeah. Also, I'm going to predict that it's going to be Jessie Graff, personally.
Cool.
I think she's most likely to do it in A&W.
Cool. That was actually cool seeing her. In fact, another family member was the one that sent me to. Did you see the freaking Wonder Woman? I was sitting there laughing because they know that I don't like A&W, but they're like, "Do you like her?" I was like, "Actually, I do like her. I like her a lot."
I was really sad when she couldn't make it to the National Ninja League finals, because she was doing work for Supergirl.
Mm-hmm.
Such a shame.
Ironic, actually.
I missed. Yeah, I know. It's funny that she works on Supergirl, but she dresses as Wonder Woman. It's like, come on, branding.
I like actually her outfit because I think it's
no. It's a good outfit.
Well, I'm a huge Wonder Woman fan.
All right, here's a question.
Here's Linda Carter.
Here's a question for you, from Sasuke Forever. Obviously, you said it was amazing, but would you elaborate on your experience at Japanese Denny's?
Okay. If you were to compare them, oh God, it's just. See, and I'm the one that actually cut and paste that question, and I still don't know quite how to answer it, but. It was just very well made, and you had a lot more options. It just, at the same time, it seemed weird to me that the fact that they had salad that went with it, and salad and yogurt, and although I don't eat yogurt, but the quality of food was much better, and a lot more consistent as opposed to what has turned into Denny's, at least in the Northeast, because I haven't found a good Denny's in quite a number of years. It just seems like. Here in the US, they haven't, like, they don't care anymore, as opposed to in Japan, in order for them to keep, I mean, like, they work a lot harder to make sure that, especially because it was tied to, they're mostly now tied to hotels, where that is their main breakfast, is they can't lose that kind, like, they can't afford bad business. So it's consistent and it's good. And I just found it hilarious that I had to travel 6,000 miles out of my way to actually get a good Denny's. It's actually almost embarrassing if you really think about it.
All right. So then, we got another question from TCM from the SMF forums. More of a general question. With the exception of the All-Stars, if you can pick someone to come back a la Shinsuke Nagasaki, who would you personally choose?
Paul Anthony Tarek. I would have loved to have seen him in this new course.
Yeah, that would be cool.
I know.
He's a big guy.
He's cute.
Yeah.
No, but he actually has a good record because
he's a good-looking dude.
Yeah, he had a good record as well. Where all of a sudden, and I guess because he was so much bigger than all the obstacles, and they'd like freak out to see what it looked like.
Well, he could. Well, I mean, Sasuke 17. He just powered through obstacles because of his body size. I mean, the man slipped going up the warped wall, and he still reached the top.
Yes.
As he was slipping.
I still remember when he had one-handed the jump hang, and they cut back, and I think it was Shingo, and Shingo just literally threw his hands in the air, rolled his eyes, and went backwards. Like, what the hell was that? I was just sitting there laughing, and he did great. He got all the way to the third stage, and and did fantastic.
And then he learned why lighter people tend to do well on stage 3. Unfortunately,
yeah, I know.
His body weight played a huge against him on that stage.
Well, the weight in general is not the issue; is whether or not you can control it. Because I've seen people, it's just the same thing. Because if you really think about it, it's not that much different than. I
appreciate his diving save on the body prop, though.
Yeah.
Actually,
you gotta tell the body prop sucks.
Yeah. You know what I really liked? I really liked his stage 2 run because he had a lot of difficulty on that spider walk because of his size and weight. Mm-hmm. And so he's just like, well, I gotta go really fast the rest of this stage. And he did that and cleared with 2 seconds left when he didn't have a lot of time left after the spider walk. Gotta respect that.
The other ones that I keep thinking of, Kane, definitely.
Oh,
And I
yeah,
know
of
they've
course.
been trying to get him back. Because he's still in good shape. In fact, I think he's better shape now than he was before. The other one that I wish that came back, but I don't think he's in anywhere near the amount of shape, would have been Koji Yamada.
Oh, yeah.
Because he was always good.
3% body fat.
Yeah, yeah, I know. But he was always good and consistent.
Yes.
And
Yeah, he's pretty
then
good.
just literally dropped off the face of the earth. Again, I have no
Sasuke
idea
19.
what kind of shape that he was in. He's in now, but if it was basically that person back, I would have loved to see what he would look like in this course.
So this is, I mean, we've had a similar question to this in the past, and I said Kota Homa because I really like him. But as far as other people, I was going to say Kinniku Nakayama, but he came back a couple of years ago, so
Yeah.
that doesn't count. I still want him back because I really like him. So that
I don't
doesn't
think
leave me with
Ayake would do well in this course.
much. Yeah. I know.
See, you have the same problem that I do, where if the ones that you would remember were in their prime years ago,
Oh.
you're not sure how they would be now.
I
have one. I
Who?
have one. Tatsuya Tada.
Mm.
Because the last time anybody saw Tada, he was a freaking teenager. And I
That's
know
true.
the powerhouse that Tada is now. He's one of the main testers. And it's like, I want him to compete. But most people don't know who he is. So again, it's the, you know.
Hey, I'm completely blanking out here. So, the Monster Box champion.
Naoki.
Yes.
Kitani. Yeah.
Yeah.
He was actually there.
Wait, is he the one that everyone likes, or is he?
No, he's
Yes.
By comparison,
Yeah,
well, they don't like
he's the-
either of them, but he's the less annoying of the brothers.
All right. Well, I want him back.
Yeah, Naoki was actually there. I actually took a picture
okay.
with him.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he was there supporting one of the other guys, which I forgot. I hadn't realized that he was actually from the samurai troop
Yeah.
that he runs. But yeah, Naoki. Yukio is the one that you're thinking of, and everybody
Yeah,
knows
no.
I can't stand
Yeah, no.
Yukio Gatani.
I wouldn't pick that one. Okay. Yeah. So him. I go for him. See, I can't even say Akira Mori because he came back a while ago. I mean, he wasn't that great. Because he's old. And the course has changed a bunch since Sasuke 4.
Yeah. See, that's the same problem that I had. There were a bunch of people like Shiji
Yeah.
Kobayashi. How would he would do? You know.
Yeah, I know.
So, Takamasa, Nagasaki, the younger brother.
Oh, that's right.
Shunsuke.
Yeah.
They're like a year apart. I think they're like 11 months off, and he was actually physically there, and he looks great. So I would love for him to compete, but I don't think they'll ever do that because it's now gotten to the point that if people were paired, like they were either brother or sister, or brothers in this case, or a part of a duo, they only pick one of the two. So they would pick Shunsuke over Takamasa any day of the week. And because there technically is no story other than that's the brother of Shunsuke Nagasaki, might as well just get Shunsuke Nagasaki. But I would love to see with Takamasa because he did fantastic. And so it's like I wish he can compete. So
It's been a while since we've seen Li Yanqi. Maybe he can count.
oh god, that would be fantastic.
Yeah.
Gotta love politics on that one.
Yeah,
Let's just say it
yeah.
that way.
I'm literally just scouring through Sasukepedia.
You did a good job, but we answered more than just one, so I think we're good
Okay.
on that one.
Yeah, so those are some people that we mind seeing. All right, and what appears to be our last question is also from TCM. He asks, "What is your favorite obstacle, past or present, and why is it the circle slider and or arm bike?" So, I don't get the second half of the question because
I mentioned Circle Slider. I don't know where he got Arm Bike from.
So apparently you really like the Circle Slider.
Yeah.
Okay. So let me just say this. As someone who, as well documented, watched the original American Gladiators very much.
Mm-hmm.
I can't help but to make comparisons between the arm bike and in Sasuke and the arm bike in American Gladiators.
Mm-hmm.
And the ultimate irony between the ultimate irony with the arm bike and Sasuke is that it's always been this in the third stage, and the American Gladiators obstacle course, the Eliminator, is a speed course, while Stage 3 is a strength course.
Yeah.
The irony is that the American Gladiators version has always looked harder to me.
Yeah.
And I think that's largely just because of how the gears are worked with the obstacle design, in that you have to pump more to go the same distance.
But that's still not your favorite obstacle, though.
I know, yeah. So I don't understand that. I mean, quite frankly, I think the Sasuke version of the arm bike is not good, and despite the fact they brought that obstacle back multiple times for Stage 3, I've never understood why they've brought it back, and why is it always in Stage 3? If anything, I've always felt like that obstacle should be in Stage 2. It felt more like a Stage 2 obstacle to me.
That makes sense. Yeah, because it's a speed thing.
Yeah. And so I'm just like, I never understood the arm bike in Sasuke, and I don't like it. I just don't like it. As for my favorite obstacle, past or present, I don't know. You know what? My absolute favorite obstacle, in all seriousness, is the pipe slider.
Yeah. That makes sense.
It's just... I just think it is the perfect finish to Stage 3. The flying bar is good. The ring is never good. It doesn't matter if it's gliding or grinding. I never liked it.
Yeah, I agree.
It's the perfect obstacle because you need strength, you need body control, and there's that moment of anticipation and intensity right before the final jump.
And there have been so many spectacular fails on that obstacle.
I know. And I think that is why that obstacle, they've never really been able to find a good replacement for it, because it's basically perfect.
Well, yeah, you never get a point where... Like for example, like you had mentioned, your wish with Nagano, where... if he passes the warp wall, he's got this. There's never a point when you see the pipe slider going, oh god, I still have this thing to go. As opposed to, oh, he's got this. If he passes the cliffhanger, you know what I mean? You don't have that, because the pipe slider by itself is agony, and then put that at the end of a very difficult stage to begin with. Then it's like, oh god, I really don't want to see this as the last obstacle.
Yeah.
So, but as a viewer, it's exciting because you don't have the, oh, well, okay, I can, do my refrigerator break because this guy's going to clear this. It's like you have to hang around because you don't know if this guy's going to clear this.
Yeah, so I would say overall, that is my favorite obstacle.
And I've already said the past, present. No, we can't say future.
That's probably future also, in all honesty.
I don't know I don't know what's gonna happen in the future. I'm just hoping that it hangs on long enough. So we'll see.
Maybe in the future they'll make a stage 3 that is nothing but pipe sliders. Just different variations of the pipe slider.
Underwater in space.
You put jumps in there. You got them at different angles. You have one, I don't know, rotate or something. You have a pipe slider that's on a conveyor belt.
Ascending.
It's ascending. Yeah, why not? Why not? Go nuts. I don't know. Like, hey, you guys are smart. Figure it out. You can do it. And there's no breaks. There's no breaks in between. You just got to go from one bar to the next.
Yep. You're committed.
There you go. So, yeah, you know what? Pipe slider. Yep. And honestly, this might sound strange. I actually prefer the single track version over the double track version.
Yes.
I think it does a good enough job with the single track version.
When was the last time they had a double track?
Whenever they expanded the stage 3 course to have more obstacles, which might have been Sasuke 14 or 13. I will tell you in a minute. So, is there any other obstacles that you want to give props to?
See, I like it. Well, I think I've mentioned it before, and the circle slider and the I still keep calling it cannonball. Spin bridge. And spin bridge. Again, and I hear all of the Japanese competitors going, "Shut up!" But I like it because, again, you get the goofy fails that go with it, and then when it's perfect, you don't even see the balls move. I just think it's beautiful. It's just but when you see those that are not, when they absolutely totally whiff at it, In fact, the worst fail I had ever seen was from Viking, Ayaka Miyako, where she just absolutely just got stuck and kept rotating around it, and she ended up timing out some 30 seconds trying to get off of that obstacle because she spun onto the last one and hung onto the rigging between the ball.
Right.
And that was, but yeah, and then of course the Shingo fails from there have always been hilarious.
So I have an answer for you.
Yep.
Sasuke 14 was the first time they changed from the 2-track pipe slider to the 1-track pipe slider.
Yeah, I much preferred. To be honest, I completely forgot about the double track.
It was there from Sasuke 2 to Sasuke 13.
Well, I remember that was where we had Travis Schroeder.
Yeah.
Basically knock it off of the
Travis Allen Schroeder.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was Sasuke 4.
Yeah. Where he knocked it off of the track.
But because of the safe day things, he kept going and not realizing what was going on.
Yeah, because technically he should just fallen. It reminds me of the fail on the salmon ladder with Yuji, because they had the
oh my god.
Yeah.
You want great fails, like the one that maybe question how did he question physics.
Yes.
How did you do that?
That was 25?
It was because it was right after he won.
Yeah, so they had the pipe slider, not the pipe slider, I'm sorry. The salmon ladder bar had what I used to call training wheels. Yeah. And it had, because it was they were trying to find ways to keep the track from falling. And so they put basically these extra stoppers on it. I think this is the only tournament that ever had that.
No, they introduced them in Sasuke 21 after the issues they had in Sasuke 20.
Yeah, but that was actually the heaviest bar they ever had. And I remember people hating that bar for that reason.
Yeah.
But what ended up happening is he ended up... So any other time, if anybody went sideways and sideways too far... Because what happened is the bar was technically too short. It was just the length of... just outside the width of the whole obstacle, because if you notice, the ones now are a little bit wider, with no training wheels, but a little bit wider, because they've gone through I think 6 different types of poles for that. And so this one was just short, so they put training wheels on it to keep people from falling off that thing. Well, he missed one of the rungs entirely and ended up going sideways, but just by sheer dumb luck, the edge of one of the training wheels got caught onto the bottom rung. And he hung there. Everybody's like, wait, what? And then so his foot didn't touch the water. And so technically he didn't fail yet.
He was still going.
But
it was
just like, what?
Yeah, now for reference, this was the first incarnation of the double salmon ladder.
Yes.
So he failed the jump from the first rack to the second rack.
Yeah.
And that's when he started hanging off of a lip. And he technically didn't fail until his foot hit the water, and that took a minute. But he, instead of going all the way into the water, he decided to just climb onto the scaffolding and stay dry. Because how do you save yourself from that situation?
Yeah. And that was just hilarious.
We've seen some good saves on the salmon ladder, but how do you save yourself from that? You would have to do the most amazing just swing and catch ever that I don't think it's actually physically possible to do.
So my two favorite moments with that the original double salmon ladder was that absolute crazy fail, and then the Kaki Takeda turning around saying, "Oh, I got this. There's no one will ever fail the salmon ladder," and then he promptly fails. It was that tournament, keeping the tradition of him failing the second obstacle of the second stage, because he had kept that for quite a while, actually. I think he busted it in 28 because he didn't get out of the first stage in 28. But up to that point, he would always fail the second obstacle of the second stage at a renewal.
Ah, okay, that's oddly specific.
It is oddly specific, but that was at that point what his record was. And then so we see that and going, you would have to do that way. And then when Yuji won in 27, and then we got to 28, he just outright failed the first stage, so we didn't get that. It was like, he broke that. Combo breaker. So, but yeah. So aren't you happy we actually talked about obstacles for a good portion of the time?
Well, it was a nice change of pace.
Yeah.
I see that I'm going to have another long episode to edit.
Yeah, but it's nowhere near as bad as it was from before.
Yeah, it's not as bad.
Yeah.
Although I imagine next month's episode is going to be really short because we're going to have nothing to talk about at all.
No. I'm hoping I'm still alive by that point.
Hey, look, we're giving you practically a month of preparation for that episode. So
yeah, the last time I finished the blogs in September. What are you talking about?
Well, that's on you.
Well, my big thing is I want to
last
get
year
that
we
done
did
before the Olympics start.
Last year we did the podcast right after the competition aired, so we're getting a little bit more time.
Yeah, and we had horrible technical issues, and you wanted to kill me because I didn't want to redo that again.
Yeah.
And to be fair, I still don't want to redo that again.
Yeah. Well, I watched SummerSlam 1997 and did some editing. And that was not nearly enough time to edit the whole thing. That was fun.
So, but yeah,
anyway.
I'm looking forward to it, and
yeah,
it's gonna be weird because again, I missed the first 50, so it's still new. But then again, last year's tournament was very different anyway, because what I would have considered some really awesome runs were never shown, and I still didn't get to see some people that I didn't get to see because they ended up cutting that from the broadcast, so I don't even know. So that's always, at least for me, going, so what are we watching? Oh, man. So, yeah.
So yeah. So everyone, look forward to next month when we review Viking 5000.
Oh god. It's scary that they actually did get a Rocky 5000.
Yeah.
For y'all that don't get that, that's a Spaceballs joke.
Nah.
And if you haven't seen Spaceballs, what's wrong with you? You have to see Spaceballs.
Yeah. Seriously.
Yeah.
It's really good.
She's a baritone.
Also watch Young Frankenstein. I like that one too.
Oh, Mel Brooks movies, awesome.
Yeah.
Just yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So yeah.
History of the World was really good. Anyway.
We can go on. That's an entirely separate subject.
Yeah, we're not going to get into it. So, with that said, thank you everyone for listening to the Final Stage podcast. Unfortunately, we're all out of time this month. So for now, we're going to go plaid and head into the future that is Sasuke 32, which will be airing this Sunday, July 3rd, at the times posted that we mentioned earlier. So if you want to watch it live, you can watch it live, and hopefully we'll all enjoy it.
Yep. And we break for no one.
Yes. And so you can check us out at thefinalstagepodcast.com. We are available on iTunes. We are available on Podbean. You can also watch the episodes on YouTube at 222 Productions. If you want to leave a review for us on iTunes, you can do that, and she will read it.
Yes.
And if you want to support the show monetarily, we have a YouTube tip jar feature. You can deal with that. It's completely optional, but would be very much appreciated if you choose to do so. Mm-hmm. As for myself, you can find me on Twitter at 2D2Will. I have a pair of websites. We got 222productions.com and 2-2.com. I will eventually edit the aforementioned AnimeNext panel and put that online, and maybe some other stuff. As for yourself?
Okay, it can always be found on ramblingregan.com. I'm also on Twitter and YouTube under Arsenette, ARSENETTE, and I'm on Instagram, also on Rambling Regan. Now, what I'm going to be doing, finishing off basically Blog Hell. Blog Hell is basically the spoilerific review that I've been doing now for 8 years, where I screen cap the entirety of everything that's ever being aired. So all of the Navis and all of Sasuke on blog form, with every single name and kanji and stats that I can come up with, and behind the scenes and all of that, in probably around anywhere between 15 to 20 blogs in a row. Yeah. So I'll be putting up some vlog videos, probably up by this weekend when this video is up, in anticipation. And then after all that, I'll be putting up some vlogs on the trip to Japan, just from past May. And that's it.
Alright then. So on that note, thank you everyone for listening to the show, and we'll see you next month. Goodbye.
Take care.